Now, in a separate area, video games can actually be developed to promote skill development. So social skills, physical rehabilitation, cognitive, knowledge gain, different kinds of skills. What I want to highlight here is that it's important that the exercises in the game are directly related to the health challenges that the person is facing. You don't want to, because if you get a game where you can win by doing something, the player will just focus on winning the game. They're not necessarily focused on the actions and the learning and stuff. You've got to really embed that learning and embed that sort of help the positive outcomes and actions that you want them to undertake. You've got to embed that in the game itself, because people will just paint over the Rubik's Cube and solve the problem in another way if they can. So some of the problems that video game and game technology can help with, well, first of all, just stating the problems, is that in a lot of situations there's limited access to opportunities. We've done a lot of work in the speech therapy side, for instance, and in our location, there just aren't enough therapists to deliver all the training and the therapy sessions that are needed. There's a high expense to this. You got to set up a schedule for yourself and for the speech therapists that work together. Well, video games can potentially help address that. Video games can be developed to address the tedious and repetitive content that might be necessary. So in physical therapy, maybe you've been in a car accident and you've got to do a certain exercise to help with making your knee, to help your knee get better, for instance. That can be really tedious and boring. Games can be developed to make it more fun. And certainly there's socially uncomfortable subject matter, things that you just don't want to talk about, you feel uncomfortable with. Video games can potentially help in that particular situation. 3 minutes. Okay, so in terms of the solutions, video games and game technology can bring video conferencing to the table, certainly. We just saw an example there with Skype. We've developed a platform for speech pathologists to deliver therapy sessions remotely, which solves geography issues and lowers costs, and isn't a solution for every issue, but it can certainly provide situations where there's more therapy delivered more often. Games can make repetitive actions fun. If you think of most games, it's sort of a sequence of pressing buttons. They actually don't think of it that way. It's the situation that's presented on the screen, the challenge on the screen. And so the actual repetitive actions are sort of secondary to solving the puzzle on the screen. So if you've got to do a particular knee exercise, you can make a game where you just have to do that particular exercise to solve the challenge on the screen, and a person can actually forget that they're even doing that exercise, and there can certainly be less perceived effort. Games can be private or social as necessary to make a person comfortable. So examples, games have been developed for procedural knowledge, motor skills, range of motion exercises. So I'm going to show an example of a particular sort of knowledge game area. So this is a game app we've recently launched to help kids who need help practicing their verb tenses. So in this case, it's an iPad app. The speech pathologist can have a list of their clients here, and they can really customize it. So Brittany needs to work on present progressive. The speech path can set it up to do that. They can say, okay, we think Brittany needs to work on present progressive with expressive questions. She seems to have no trouble when it's auditory sort of cues, but maybe if we give her questions where there's visual and audio together, she's got multiple choice, that's presenting a good challenge level for her. Whereas perhaps Wesley, he's more in need of receptive questions, and he seems to be doing best when it's sort of audio cues. So you can sort of customize this app to be used in a multiplayer setting with kids. Here's some examples of the kinds of challenges that the kids would face. So it's always putting in the correct verb response. So here, we blank fireworks this 4th of July. So if it's present tense, it would be, we are lighting. That would be the correct answer. Walt slid down the slide earlier this morning, so in this case it's a receptive question. They just had to show that they understood the content. Now what we did to sort of tie this into a game to make it more fun, and because this is based on past, present, and future, the speech pathologists that we worked with, they already had something in mind. We worked with a group in Texas on this particular app. They wanted a carnival-based game to sort of make the kids have, they thought this would be fun for them. So we made a carnival of the past, a carnival of the present, and a carnival of the future. If you answer a present tense question correctly, you get a ticket to go to the carnival of the present. here's some just examples of what that looks like. We basically put an Angry Bird sort of style mechanic, so each time you go to one of these carnivals, this would be the past tense, the stations have gone horribly awry. At each particular station, you know, in this particular case, the monkey organist guy has lost his monkey, so you've got to help him find them. So there's a bunch of sort of physics-based puzzles. And the only way you can play these puzzles is by getting these tickets, and the only way you get those tickets is by answering your verb tense questions correctly. So we're finding it really is motivating the kids to answer their verb tense questions. One of the important things here, the short and long-term goals, which this is getting at, but the game can really track exactly what the kid is doing well with and having challenges with. This is an important feature of games, is just capturing that data, not just in data in general, but the data for that user and exactly what challenges they seem to be having. And this could really provide a window into details that a speech path would normally not have access to. And my final area here is new perspectives. Video games can provide certainly data-driven insights. They can give personalized challenges and feedback. The power of the computer and its infinite sort of objective memory, if you can identify things to measure that the computer can actually measure, it can be very, very powerful. They can simulate experiences that are too dangerous. So for instance, putting you in a situation, emergency response, sort of catastrophic situations, emergency responder training, we can simulate those things and help people prepare for those. But importantly, video games can bring a new perspective on things that are either too fast or slow to perceive. So one of the problems that video games can help with is this whole problem of us being human. We've got this limited frame of knowledge, our experiences are limited, we're subjective, and we all have unique needs, challenges, and abilities. So games can help with that. Computers bring this infinite objective memory. You can set personal goals in the game, so it's not like a one-size-fits-all for the solutions that you're trying to present. And key things that you can design a game so that a person can progress at their own pace in their own time. They can experience situations from new perspectives, which can really help with the subjectivity issue, like just looking at it in a different way from a new perspective can really help people. And we can, I think really importantly, capture and analyze that data that could never be experienced directly. Here's an example of one of the products we've made. It's called Voxative, and this is where the speech path can connect remotely and engage in therapy exercises. So in this case, we worked with Trauma Rehab to develop a digital-based version of a therapy that they'd already shown positive outcomes from. So it's with regards to people who've had a stroke and they've lost the ability to say certain words. And they developed this therapy to help the people recover the ability to say these words. And so it's essentially like I hold up a picture of a tree and we have to practice the phonological components of the word. And it turns out that a person may forget how to say the word tree, but they actually still remember that it rhymes with flea. They might even remember the word in their head. They know that it rhymes with bee, it has a first sound t. They know things about the word, but they're actually not able to just produce the word. And it turns out that by practicing the components around the word, a person is able to recover the ability to say certain words. So in this case, we can really highlight what aspects of the therapy seem to be working. So if practicing the rhyming words seems to be providing better outcomes based on how we measure things, we can give insights into that in a way that the trauma rehab certainly wouldn't have been able to before without sort of these tools. So just trying to wrap up, I guess. Why video games can be used? Well, in the healthcare context, they can be effective, it's shown. They can be very accessible, so no matter where you are, once you've made a game, you can distribute it to 1 million people, kind of wherever they are, very easily. And they can provide interesting insights via the data that they capture, for instance. When you might want to use games? Well, in contexts where motivation is an issue, where the person needs to or they could benefit from being motivated to sort of address their issues, where you would like to provide a scenario that's consequence-free for them to practice certain things, and when individualization and personalization of the actual challenge is valuable. And how? Well, video games can be beneficial because they're engaging. A person who wants to sort of engage with these exercises, they're applied in the sense that you are the one doing the activity right from the beginning. You're not sort of absorbing content and hopefully sort of including it in your daily life. You're actually engaged with it right away. And perhaps most importantly, when games are collaborative, that's between the user and the developers and the healthcare system. But in our case, particularly important that we are just recognizing that we are just game developers. We are not healthcare professionals. So when you want to make a game for health, you want to have really strong medical expertise backing it up, but you also need strong game development. So it's when that we find that we work with the really strong healthcare experts, we make a product. So you really got to collaborate between the developers. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to come today, is because we are always looking for researchers and healthcare professionals to work with our projects. So if anyone's interested, please come see me afterwards. And so, thank you.